Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Face the State on this Sunday morning. I'm Dennis House. This was the week of Governor Lamont's big State of the State address, his second since being elected in 2018. We are joined today by our two political analysts. They are David Stemmerman, a Republican, former candidate for governor. Also, another former candidate for governor, the mayor of Bridgeport, Joe Ganim, a Democrat. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us here in the program, and great to see you back.
Thanks for having us. Great to be with you.
So since the governor's on your team, I'm going to begin with you. What did you think of his speech?
I thought a good speech. I mean, he's a very good speaker. I think he hit a lot of what people wanted to hear. More general than specific. I think last year we heard more specifics, but he's accomplished a lot. I think we know that the state is in a position where it has a solid budget. That's good news for all the residents of the state, for people in my city. We're not looking at cuts. We would like to see enhancements where it's needed in cities, property tax relief, more money for education. Hopefully that'll come out through the session.
What's the Republican view here, Mr. Stemmerman?
Well, I think that the topics of unity got the broadest applause, and I think there was a lot of positive thought that finally we don't have a budget crisis for this year. But remember, the reason that we don't is that we had a bipartisan budget agreement a couple of years ago where we started putting spending caps on. We put aside a rainy day fund. That's put us in a position now of greater stability. And my hope is we can talk about, as the governor did, what are those areas of common ground where we can make progress going forward.
Talk about the common ground. He got a standing ovation when he said, stop bad-mouthing Connecticut. And that's a big thing in our state. So many people love to criticize our state and make fun of it. What did you make of that, why he added that?
I think we need to let people know beyond our borders. And I think we're doing it with budget stability. I think with positive outlooks from Wall Street. But let people know the great qualities of life. That's why we're here. We all complain, or people complain too much and don't really stand up for this great state. So I hope people in bipartisan, doesn't matter age groups, demographics, it's a great state, we're all part of it. Let's go out and walk the walk and talk the talk about great Connecticut.
The governor...
I think that what we love about our state is the tremendous potential it has. And the governor highlighted the tremendous innovation here, the tremendous manufacturing ability in a business like Electric Boat, the tremendous potential for Yale New Haven with its investment in life science, and also talked about the welcoming, inclusive attitude, values, and on all of that. The potential is tremendous. I think the problem that Republicans see is we're falling short on realizing that potential, and that's where I think we've got a lot of work to do.
Well, and not to take away from the good feelings about promoting the state, but I will tell you, I want to make sure that cities, when we have a state of plenty, if you will, in many areas and many communities, that we don't lose the urban agenda, we don't lose the commitment to the most needy. I represent the largest city. Our poverty levels, the demographics are in need of funding for education, as I said, high property taxes, economic development. We talked about transportation, train stations, and funding. So those things need to be, again, you need to ring the bell on that. If we're really going to crow about the positives of Connecticut, we need to remember the urban agenda in our cities.
The governor painted a rosy picture of the state. Do you see it the same way?
Well, what I see is a country that is booming. I see a stock market that's reaching new all-time highs, that's increasing people's 401ks and retirement plans. I see an economy that's poised to take off. And while I'm glad Connecticut is no longer descending into the depths, I think that we could do quite a bit better. And the mayor, who has the same issue as the governor does in balancing the budget, knows there's nothing better than growth. When you have growth, when you have more people, more businesses, you have more tax revenues, and then you can provide the services that you want. You can invest in education. You can invest in job training. You can take care of people in need. And what I think we need to do is a better job understanding how we can bring businesses and wealth here to want to bring more jobs, include everybody, and that's what we need to do.
Well, that is the key, a job. I mean, the best program, they say the best social program going is a job. Everybody wants a job. The creation of jobs, supporting businesses do that. We want that to happen. I can't think of a better formula. Bipartisan, everyone agrees on that, and that's what we need to focus on. We're trying to do it locally in Connecticut.
And I think for transportation infrastructure, which has been so much front and center for the last year, so much of the discussion has been about tolls. But what you care about and the people of Bridgeport care about is, can we get a new airport in the area? Could we get lanes added to 95? could we get the train from New York City there in 45 minutes? Well, I hope that the plan that the governor has put forward, which is an initial down payment on improving the quality of service, maybe improving some interchanges, we need to have a discussion about those big things. And how can we attract private investment so that we can do that kind of thing and we can really bring good paying jobs and a boom to cities like Bridgeport.
While you're on that subject, because you both live in that area, another big airport along the shoreline, where would it go and could it be done?
Yes, to people throughout Connecticut, if they take a look, it's a no-brainer. Sikorsky, which is a Bridgeport-owned airport in Stratford, it's on the I-95 corridor. Trains and planes are the way for us to build the infrastructure, to improve the opportunity for jobs and quality of life in Connecticut. So yes, there's an airport there. It will be a game changer for all of Fairfield County. Westchester Airport is just across the border, but really the largest hub we have is Hartford, Kennedy, and LaGuardia. So that's the opportunity for investment. PPP, public-private partnership, is the way to go. I think the governor supports that. We support it. We want to make it happen.
We didn't hear the word tolls. He called it a user fee in his speech. Do you think that's because it might be a tough sell for these state reps and state senators who are all up for re-election this year to go home to their district and say, I support tolls?
I think one of the big learnings a year in is that the people of Connecticut no longer trust their representatives with a blank check. And the shortcoming of the governor's initial proposal was he said, I want to toll you for $1 billion a year, and trust me, we'll spend the money wisely. And we've seen a grassroots movement like we've never seen in the state before, saying no thank you. But what we do know in this state is people want their transportation better. And so the idea of a user fee is that if you provide me with a better service, and I know that it's being delivered on time, on budget, then maybe there's a willingness to do something.
Mayor Gannon, what was missing out of the governor's speech that you wanted to see in there?
Well, we're not being critical. I would have liked to hear more about cities, about what the urban agenda is. We've got to come out of this session with, if we're going to build Connecticut and we're on a good road, a good route, if you will, with the budgets being balanced and the economy and a vision on transportation, cities have got to be included in that. When you take a good hard look of really how to make this state the state that we all want it to be, which is improving it, it centers upon an urban agenda. I want to be a part of that. The other mayors do. I think the governor does. I'd like to see that be rolled out a little bit. A small piece of it is probably a jobs bill that can focus on urban centers. That's what I'd like to see.
Mr. Stemmer, what did you want to see in that speech that he didn't mention?
It's a topic that we come back to every time, which is our labor relationships and our unfunded retirement liabilities. I think that this is the same issue for the state of Connecticut that our nation faced with trade. We had for decades unfair trade deals with China and with Mexico. And we finally had a president who said enough is enough. We've had unfair deals that have been set by both Republicans and Democrats. It's cost us 60,000 factories over both Republican and Democratic administrations. We need to do something different. I think we need to have that exact same conversation with what kind of benefits are we going to provide to our state employees and retirees, and something that's fair for everyone. We want to make sure that there's enough money to take care of not only our retirees, but our state employees, but we can't be putting a noose around the neck of our state.
If you had to grade the governor's performance so far his first year in office, what would you give him for a letter grade?
I'd give him an incomplete.
An incomplete. How about you, Mayor?
No, but it's like the first quarter of a football game. I think he's covered a lot of ground and done a lot of good things. But there's a lot more to do, and I think you recognize that in his speech.
A, B,
so maybe
C?
It's the same grade.
The best grade I ever gave myself was a B+. I think he's doing at least that. So
let's talk about marijuana. That was mentioned a little bit, and the other states are already moving ahead. Do you think Connecticut's behind the curve on this, and they should be ahead of it?
I do. And I have all the concerns about, and I have children and all the concerns. Without even saying those, they need to be a part of if we're going to move this. But we are behind. You just look at us geographically. So legalization of marijuana seems like time has come.
Mr. Stemman?
So Joe, both you and I are fathers, and we look after our family first, and I think this would be a terrible mistake. One of the most moving moments for me during my campaign was I met a young woman who began with marijuana and then became a heroin addict and out on the streets, and I don't want to see that happen
to if there's revenue, you talk about the opioids crisis, you talk about prevention, you talk about substance abuse, utilize it in a positive way because it's happening, unfortunately out there now.
I know you've ruled it out because he's in your party, but I'd be remiss not to ask this. As you watched the governor's speech, did it go through your mind at all? Perhaps I will run for governor in 2022. Did you think about that at all?
I think that we've got a lot of work to do in this state, and that I was happy to be in the room and talking with those who are making decisions to make sure that our state moves in the right direction.
Did I know where a yes? What do you think?
I think it was somewhere in the middle.
David Stemmerman,
Good
Joe
answer.
Ganim,
Good
always
to
great
see
to see you in the program. Thanks so much.